Congressman James Comer says Republicans plan to eventually subpoena members of the Biden family. Comer believes new evidence, including the testimony of Hunter Biden associate Devon Archer, directly implicates President Biden in his son's foreign business calls. Comer says the committee intends to bring in 3 or 4 other associates for transcribed interviews. The congressman released a third bank record memo this week allegedly showing $20 million in payments to Hunter Biden and partners from foreign entities during Biden's vice presidency. Comer discussed the allegations.
They were taking money from foreign nationals and they were marketing Joe Biden. Joe Biden was the brand. So that is the first associate that came in, implicated Joe Biden as being the reason they were getting this money. And the money is from bad people. The money is from people who are either incarcerated in the countries where they wired the money, or they are on the flee from being incarcerated. So we're concerned that the president is compromised. This money from the Bidens happened while Joe Biden was vice president, while he was flying to those countries. He flew days after he left Romania. His family started receiving wires from a corrupt Romanian foreign national. Days, like 4 days after he left, including his granddaughter. What's his granddaughter doing getting a wire from a Romanian foreign national?
The White House denies any involvement of President Biden in his son's business dealings and says the GOP-led committee hasn't uncovered any proof of wrongdoing by Biden. A spokesman added that even the GOP's own witness, Devon Archer, testified that he never heard Biden discussing business with his son or his son's associates. The CDC is still planning on recommending an annual COVID-19 shot. The agency's director wants people to see it like an annual flu shot. The agency's director, Mandy Cohen, said in a podcast that the agency will likely make the recommendation in the coming weeks. Congressman Brad Wenstrup recently questioned her over what data supports the annual shots and asked for a briefing on the matter. He gave the agency until August 16th to provide answers. U.S. officials initially said people would only need a primary series of shots to protect themselves against COVID-19 and recommended vaccination for virtually everyone. Less than a year later, they authorized and advised boosters to try to stem waning immunity. As new variants emerge, the mRNA vaccines perform worse. A shocking report on how the IRS handles old tax records. A government watchdog found that the tax agency lost track of millions of sensitive tax records of Americans. The Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration issued the report earlier this week. It says the IRS lost track of up to 2,000 microfilm cartridges. They contain roughly 19 million sensitive business and individual tax records of Americans. The report concludes that the IRS is not in compliance with records management requirements. The lost records could be used by criminals to commit identity theft and tax fraud. In light of the findings, the watchdog recommended the IRS carry out a detailed inventory of all microfilm cartridges on hand. In a letter responding to the report, the tax agency blamed long-term underfunding and staff attrition for the problems. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s presidential campaign renewed calls for Secret Service protection after an Ecuadorian candidate's assassination. Kennedy's campaign manager publicly called on President Biden to order Secret Service protection for Kennedy. Kennedy said last month that the Biden administration denied his previous protection request. Kennedy says his campaign turned in a 67-page report from the world's leading protection firm that described why Kennedy needs the service. Ecuador presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio was shot and killed at a political rally on August 9th. He recently promised to get rid of corruption and lock up the country's drug runners. And Kennedy's campaign manager mentioned in a press release how the FBI just shot a man who threatened President Biden. Kennedy's own father was assassinated in 1968 during his presidential campaign. The campaign manager said Kennedy has met all criteria for protection. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. College professors are scrambling for ways to make tests uncheatable. As students are cheating more with AI tools, some professors are returning to traditional paper exams. It's affecting college professors across the country. The professors are using different tactics to slow down cheating using the ChatGPT tool. Some are using paper exams instead of digital exams. Others require students to show their draft history or essay assignments. Warnings about using AI for schoolwork are becoming more common. In a survey from College Rover, 60% of students don't want schools to ban AI. The survey found 41% of college students use ChatGPT a few times a week, 10% use it once a day, and 9% use it multiple times per day. Podcaster Joe Rogan says a federal digital currency would be checkmate for society. Here's what the popular podcaster recently said and the opinions of presidential candidates on the topic.
Joe Rogan, one of the most popular podcasters in the U.S., recently sat down with rapper Post Malone for a new episode. At one point, the musician asked Rogan how he feels about a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, issued by the government.
No way. That's what I think. I think that's checkmate. That's game over.
Rogan then went on to describe how, in his opinion, such a digital currency could negatively affect society.
If they decide somehow or another that you need some social credit score system and it's for the benefit of society, and they outline that they can, track your behavior and your tweets and all your things, and then make sure that you comply so that all the other people also comply because they don't want to be stripped of their money. They don't want everything they work for just be taken away instantly overnight and be powerless. No one to call. No one's going to answer your phone.
Rogan and Malone then added that they fear people would use such a digital currency due to the convenience of it. Last year, President Biden instructed the Attorney General and the Fed to produce a legislative proposal to create digital currency within 210 days, about 7 months. The Fed at this time has stated it has no plans to issue a digital dollar soon and will let Congress make that decision. Meanwhile, presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. previously denounced CBDCs for being what he calls instruments of control. He instead promised to back the current U.S. dollar with gold, silver, and even Bitcoin possibly, saying backing dollars and U.S. debt obligations with hard assets could help restore strength back to the dollar, rein in inflation, and usher in a new era of American financial stability, peace, and prosperity. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said he would ban CBDCs if elected president. He already signed a bill banning them in his state.